We'll write this up here. These are all y equals sine x graphs and cos x graphs, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we're going to find all the pieces of it. So these are all sine x graphs, or y equals cos x graphs. And on top of it, your calculator always needs to be in radian mode, which is great because it is the mode that when your calculator is reset, it is in. So you know, like in 20-1 or in physics, sometimes you go to do the whole entire test and you get no answers correct because you were supposed to be in degree mode, but you reset your calculator and it was in radian. Cool thing is your calculator resets to radian, and that's what we always need to be in. So degree mode we don't need to be in. So if you're like, oh, just wait a second, I need to put it in degree mode, stop it. We do not want degree mode. Everything will be wrong if you're in degree mode. Okay? Yeah. Stop your head. All right. So if you look, we have questions of graphs here. Go to the next page, some more graphs. Go to the next page, more graphs. And then we're on the 4th page, another graph. This is where I want you to go. Okay. So we're going to float between the notes section and these graphs. All right? So the first thing we're going to talk about is amplitude. So the definition of the amplitude is half the vertical distance. So the amplitude is half the vertical distance. And the other thing about amplitude is it is always positive. So if they ever give you an answer on the diploma about the amplitude and they give you it as negative, you can just cross that answer out. The amplitude is always positive. It is a distance. I'll be writing this down because I didn't write it down for my own welfare. I'm really good at amplitudes. Basically proud. All right. So from a graph, you can use this formula to get the amplitude. And it's not amp, because that's a measurement. It's amplitude, no short form. Amplitude is the absolute value of the max minus the min divided by 2. It is not on your formula sheet. So if you choose to remember this formula, you have to memorize it. That is your amplitude, is the absolute value of the max minus min divided by 2. It's also just half the vertical distance. So if you counted from the minimum to the maximum, how long that took, and divided by 2, you get your amplitude. But you can use this formula. So we're going to go find the amplitude of all those graphs. So let's go back to page 1. We're going to put down a whole bunch of equations on here too. So off to the side, we don't want to write giant. We're just going to write normal size. So the amplitude equals the absolute value of the maximum. What's the maximum of this graph? How high does it go to? 3. Minus the minimum. What does the minimum go to? -3 divided by 2. So it's the absolute value of 3 plus 3 technically. So 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Okay? So our amplitude is 3. We could also just count the vertical distance and divide by 2. Okay? So if I start at the bottom, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the vertical distance. So the amplitude would be 3. Half that vertical distance, right? So from the minimum to the maximum was a distance of 6. It would end up being 3. It's half of it. And the absolute value thing and the minus sign takes into account negative values. Okay, so the amplitude is 3. Let's go to the next one. Amplitude equals the absolute value of the maximum. What's the maximum? 6 minus the minimum, -2, divided by 2, which is 8 over 2, which is 4. That should be half the vertical distance. So let's count from low to high. 1, because if I step, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to get me from my min to my max, correct? Which amplitude would be 4. Make sense? Okay, go. Do all the rest up to notes. Find the amplitude of, because I start here and I go past a max back to that same height, that would be the middle of it, and then this one is gonna, or I could say that it has a minimum at 9 and negative 3 as well. So we know that it's gonna keep going to here. Amplitude equals absolute value of 3 minus a minus 3 divided by 2, which is 3. If I count the distance up, it's 6, and half of that is 3. Okay, 4. Lowest it goes to is negative 0.8, highest it goes to is 0.8. So my amplitude equals 0.8 minus a negative 0.8 absolute value divided by 2 is 0.8. Number 5, low and high is negative 4 and 4. So my amplitude equals the absolute value of 4 minus negative 4 divided by 2, which is 8 over 2, which is 4. If I count my vertical distance, it would be 4 up to 0, and then another 4, so that's 8. 8 divided by 4 is 2, right? If you could just count the vertical distance. If they wanted algebra, though, you'd have to show it with the formula. This one's negative 5 to 5. Amplitude equals the absolute value of the max minus the min divided by 2, which is 5. Next one, the amplitude equals the absolute value of 2 minus negative 4 divided by 2, which is 6 over 2, which is 3. And if I count up, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Half of that is 3, right? 9. My amplitude equals the absolute value of the max, which is 7 minus the min, which is 1, divided by 2, which is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Half of that is 3. 2. Okay. This one, the amplitude equals the absolute value of 20 minus 10 divided by 2, which equals 10 divided by 2, which is 11. My amplitude equals the absolute value of 8 minus negative 3. Is it negative 3? Is that 8? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Try again. So it's going to be 12 divided by 2, which is 6. So that's how you get the amplitude from a graph. Okay? Let's look to your next page, which is notes. We're going back there again. The next one we're going to do is midline. Midline is the horizontal line so it's y equals some sort of number that cuts the graph in half. So basically, it's the average between the max and the min. The average value between the max and the min. So if I wanted the average value between your maximum test score and your minimum test score, how would you figure that out? Add them up and divide by 2, correct? Same thing here. So your midline is y equals, you see how it says midline? It has to be a line, so it's y equals. If they said median value, it would just be the number. So midline is a line, and all you do is you add your highest to your lowest and divide by 2, right? If I wanted the average score of 2 tests, I'd add them up and divide by 2. I want the average line between my min and my max, I'll add them up and divide by 2. And this can be negative, so there is no absolute value. And the key thing you have to remember is it's y equals. It's a horizontal line. Make sure you're writing this down, Brady. Y equals. Okay? Key thing has to be in y equals. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to number 1 and we're going to find the midlines of them, but we're also going to draw them. Because the midline helps us if we draw it to make sure we're correct. So I'm going to go back to number 1. I'm going to find the midline and make it purple. So the midline is y equals, it's not just equals, it's y equals the max, which is 3, plus the min, which is negative 3, divided by 2. 3 plus negative 3 is 0 divided by 2, which is 0. So y equals 0 is our midline. So we draw our midline. Y equals 0 is the x-axis. Remember that? And if I'm correct, the same amount of graph should be above it as should be below it. Correct? If it's the midline. If like the top is way shorter than the bottom, you messed up. It'd be the same distance. Okay, so we always draw our midline. It's 3 up and it's 3 down. Correct? From that midline, so we know we're right. Let's look at B. The midline is y equals the max, which is 6, plus the min, which is negative 2, divided by 2, which is 4 over 2, which is 2. So we know our midline is y equals 2, technically. So I go to where y equals 2, which is here, and I draw a horizontal line. And I know it should be right because if I count up and down from it, it should be the same distance, right? So I count up from 2, it gets me 4 to 6. If I count down from 2, it gets me 4 to negative. Okay? Let's do 3 together. Midline is y equals the max, which is 3, plus the min, which is negative 3 divided by 2, which is 0. So my midline is y equals 0, which is the x-axis, which is halfway. You do the rest. Go quickly. All right, midline. Y equals 0.8 plus negative 0.8 divided by 2. So it's 0. And it's y equals 0 when the graph is symmetrical, correct? Same amount above, same amount below. That's where you get your midline of y equals 0. Okay, this one, your midline is y equals 4 plus negative 4 divided by 2, which is 0 again. And we know it's right because it is cutting the graph in half. Okay, 6, midline, is y equals max, which is 5, plus min, which is negative 5 divided by 2, which is y equals 0. And it's symmetrical again, so that makes sense. This one, I've been skipping the whole time. The amplitude, is 6, and the midline is y equals 0. Guys, hey, trade papers. Really wants me to put in trade papers. Yeah, that's what's happening. All right, midline. y equals 2 plus negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. So we draw negative 1. He cuts it in half. Okay. Then 9, my midline, is y equals 9 plus 1 divided by 2, or 7. There's a 7 right there, and I write 9. Grab a mitt. Get in the game, Crystal. Okay. 8 over 2, which is 4. Don't put away your papers. Stop. Okay. Then this one, your midline, stop pecking up, is y equals 20 plus 10 divided by 2, which is 15. And then the last one, the midline, is y equals 9 plus negative 3 divided by 2, which is 6 over 2, which is 3.